How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping out another video. Right, guys, I've had a day or so off, day or two off, just not recorded any vlogs at all. And then I'm like, you know what? I've just started to build up and start like loads to do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm back on the vlogs and everything. Right, guys. So this is a story in the Leeds Live. Link in the description below, like I always do. Headline reads: Hundreds released into homelessness after serving sentences at Leeds prison. Now, Leeds prison is H&P Leeds, or locally known as Armley prison. It says here, at least 429 men were homeless when they were released from the prison between 2015 and 2018. Hundreds of people are left to face homelessness after being released from Her Majesty's Prison, Leeds. At least 429 people were homeless when they were released from the Category B men's prison between 2015 and 2018. 42 were known to be sleeping rough as soon as they were released. However, the number of men released into homelessness could actually be much higher, as the Ministry of Justice has recorded the living arrangements of just over 1,000 former inmates as unknown. The figures uncovered by the Freedom of Information requests also show that 470 people have been released into unsettled short-term accommodation, such as homeless hostels, since 2015. Some ex-prisoners reoffend to return to prison in a bid to avoid homelessness. And research conducted by the World Prison Brief has found that providing prisoners with stable accommodation can reduce reoffending by 20%. What were HMP Leeds inmates released into between 2015 and 2018? So like 51% was settled accommodation, 51.6% was settled accommodation. 10.7% were in unsettled accommodation. There was 4.2% were released into a bail or probation accommodation. 10.7% were homeless. And 22.8% were going into unknown accommodation. Last year, Leeds Live spoke to a man struggling with mental illness and drug dependency who had resorted to living on an Armley gyratory or something after finishing his sentence in the prison in Armley. I'd rather be back in prison, he said. You've got everything there. You know where you are. You're working, you're eating, you've got a roof over your head. Everything's there for you. When I was in prison, I was eating 3 meals a day. But before the half a sandwich I had yesterday, I went 3 or 4 days with nothing to eat. Hopefully I'll be all right before I get locked up again. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm not bothered about it. I know where I am in there. But this is not just an issue for Leeds, as 1 in 4 short sentence prisoners are released homeless or left to sleep rough in the UK. According to research conducted by the charity Revolving Doors, there are more than around 1,000 prisoners released into homelessness or sleeping rough every month. Prisons Minister Rory Stewart is currently considering plans to scrap jail sentences of 6 months or less. He told the Daily Telegraph they were long enough to damage and not long enough to heal you. Right now, the thing is, right, guys, this is the system, and the system is broken. And I find myself repeating myself in a lot of these videos and vlogs and stuff. Right, if you are leaving prison homeless, right, the reality is it's inevitable that you're going to commit crime. Right now, let's say you're in prison, you find out you've lost your accommodation because you've been on a short sentence or a long sentence, right? People then can fall into drug use if they wasn't already taking drugs as a coping mechanism, or because they battle with addiction and they've got an addictive personality. If they leave prison and they go into the streets, back into the gutter or whatever, right, it's inevitable they're going to commit crime. Why? Right, say that they don't take drugs, they're stealing to feed themselves, right? So that's a criminal offence, right? If they pick up a habit whilst in prison through, whether, like I say, addictive tendencies, or whether it be because there's a coping mechanism because prison messes with you, or you've lost your accommodation and you turn to drugs for that reason, then you've got to feed that habit. So how do you feed that habit? You leave prison with £46, you're kicked out the door, you've got nowhere to go. You have to commit crime. We don't have to, but people will commit crime, shoplifting and such, cars, like breaking into cars, stealing sat-navs, going into local pubs on the estates here in Manchester or Leeds or wherever the case may be. selling off the stolen property because their body needs that drug. They can't function without the use of that drug. So if you fall, like I say, the prisons minister a few months ago was doing a big thing in government where he's saying, oh, prisoners need to leave prisons with jobs. And I was like, no, let's just rewind it for a minute. Prisoners need to leave prison with somewhere to live, a foundation to work up from. No foundation, they fall straight through the trapdoor, straight back into a life of crime. And like I say, they might not even want to do that. Do you understand what I'm saying? But the system, guys, is as broken as those that are entering the system. They really, really are. You've got to think, you go to prison on a short sentence or a long sentence, you lose your accommodation. Not everyone's got like a family support network and everything else, right? A lot of prisoners have no support network, nowhere to live upon release, or they had somewhere to live. They've come to prison on a short sentence or a long sentence. They've lost their accommodation because you're in prison. If you're sentenced to 3 months or less, 12 weeks or less, you can get housing benefit convicted. If you are on, but obviously people are serving a lot longer than that. If you are on remand, you can get protected rent, where the local council will pay your rent for 52 weeks, because on average it takes 52 weeks for a trial to come to pass. So yeah, guys, but the reality is prison's there. Surely the aim of prison is to leave in a better position than when they entered, i.e. with somewhere to live, skills training, education, reintegration and resettlement. So when they leave prison, they actually stand a second chance in society, so they can break the cycle of crime, get a job, pay tax back into the system, thus saving the taxpayer money, reducing the amount of reoffending, which costs the taxpayer £15 billion a year. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And becoming a productive member of society. Unfortunately, guys, that isn't the reality. Most people leave prison broke. They go to prison broken, they leave in pieces. No family, the missus is split up with them, no support network, they're kicked out the door with £46. Some people reoffend on purpose, so they end up back in prison. Now the prisoner here, the former prisoner should I say, the one that was released and then he's been, it's inevitable. The way he speaks, you can hear him in his quote, he's inevitable, he's going to go back to prison. But prison is a punishment for those that have got something to lose. If you're living on the streets, you look at the weather, it's freezing. Right, it's pissing it down here in Manchester. It's freezing, frosty ice there, right? And there's a winter blast due to come right now. If you're living on the streets in a shop doorway, right, spiced out your nut or whatever, and you get nicked because you commit a crime to feed your habit, right? You go to prison. You've got a roof over your head, 3 meals a day, right, and drugs on tap if you can afford them, which they can. Some people are best suited to prison, but prison is a punishment for those. If you've got a missus and kids and everything and a house and a job and something to live for and you go to jail, prison is a very real punishment. If you've got nothing in the outside world, prison, you welcome prison with open arms, because you're getting fed, there's still drugs available if that's your crux or that's what you're into. Prison alcohol, hooch. The system, guys, is as broken as those that are entering it. It really, really is. And it's a sad state of affairs, and people wonder why the reoffending rates are so high in this country. It's ridiculous. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave the story here. Broken system, broken Britain, broken penal system, broken prisoners. Go to prison broken, leave in pieces, or worse, in a body bag. Right, guys, going to leave it there. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.